Like you just
Yeah.
drive down the road, see a dentist. That was the only dentist you'd go to, right? Now it's like, I need a dentist. Just go on your phone and you search, and there's 42 of them right around you. And you're like, all right, I can take my pick.
It's so true.
Downtown, there's only one dentist. Nope, there's 10 now, and they're all around town, and they tell me where they're at. I mean, unless someone told you where they were, you didn't know. So the world is
Yeah.
getting closer to digital every day, no matter what the industry is.
The Move Entrepreneur Evolved podcast. Get on it.
And we're back with another episode of the Moved Entrepreneur Evolved podcast. I'm super excited for our guest here today. Today's episode is brought to you by MOVD30.com. It's a entrepreneur transformational program to get you into momentum as an entrepreneur. And today's guest, I'm super pumped to have Cody Neer here. We've got all kinds of cool stuff to chat about. How you doing, man?
Hey, good, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, man. We were, your mic's much better when we got started. We were so much further away. Oh. So it's much better, man. So I always dive right into, the past. I always kind of like to open up these episodes as entrepreneurs so that people can kind of relate to how this all started, right? So as I go back, I always sometimes like to dive in, like, were you an entrepreneur as a kid? Were you somebody that kind of fell into it? Was it family kind of thing? Where was your initiation?
Yeah. You asked that question perfectly, because typically it's like, oh, how'd you get started? And I start right with the professional side, but never did think about like the family that I do as a kid, because the reality was I was a baseball player growing up. If you before I go into my last 12 years of business, had you looked up Cody Neer on the internet, it would have been baseball player. I went to University of Florida, played baseball there for the Gators, played professional baseball. My entire life growing up I was going to be a baseball player. So entrepreneur growing up, no. My dad owned a concrete pumping business. We were dirt poor. We ate peanut butter jellies and spaghetti growing up, and yeah, I had no idea of making money was a thing. I thought, oh, I'm gonna be a baseball player. So it didn't happen until after my sports career that I got into becoming an entrepreneur, and it started legit. Like probably most people think that doesn't ever happen, but it legit started with me going to Google and typing in how do I make money. How do I make money online? That's legit. The journey started there. I came across people who had podcasts much like this, who had websites that talked about different styles of businesses you can build, different things you could do online, SEO, paid traffic, start a marketing agency, everything you can imagine there, right? And one of the guys that came across, this is the funny part, is now a lot of people know who he is, but it's just Alex Becker. I mean, you came across his 2011, it's called Source Wave SEO is what he had his original business. I took his course, went to a job application online for Thomson Reuters, which if you don't know that is, they're a $6 billion business. They own FindLaw.com and a whole bunch of other shit. And the job was SEO manager. And I applied knowing what I took out of his course. And I walked into an interview, and the guy and I had a good conversation. He hired me on the spot. I literally took an online course, had no idea how to do digital business, walked into an interview, got hired to do a job I learned from somebody else on the internet. That's how it started.
Dude, that's cool, man. And so at that time, it was more of a corporate SEO kind of thing.
Yeah. I was link building, content building, strategy.
I was gonna say, dude, how long ago was that? More than 10?
Oh yeah. I mean, I ended my 2009-ish. So right after that 2010-ish area, roughly there. So,
and so you stayed with that company for a while.
No, actually. So I stayed there for about a year working FindLaw.com, which is, in itself was pretty cool, but went into a big ass building in Eagan, Minnesota. I'm from Florida, by the way. My wife and I moved up there. She was working at General Mills at the time. And so I went up there, and that's when I started going on this journey. This was post baseball. She was the breadwinner. So we went to Minnesota, and it started me down this rabbit hole of what am I going to do in life post baseball? And now it's not a time to hit the real world, and I was like, I needed to figure out something. So that's what led me to looking on the internet and found this. But yeah, after that, I went to Target Corporation. Target, like the retailer Target.
Yeah.
But I was in their marketing and corporate headquarters downtown for their marketing department. In that previous role, I had set up Google SEM, SEO, And one of the roles was they at the time said we're launching our paid social media channel. Essentially, they had never ran paid social ads at the time.
Wow.
One of the initiatives was to get downloads for the Cartwheel app. And so much like the previous job interview, applied, went in, had a good conversation, limited experience, right? I had one job prior to this, and just, hit it off and got that job, which was interesting.
Those were definitely times, like when you think about it, it's like, the businesses didn't know much. So if you knew little, you were like the asset, right? But they also, back then, they'd be like, well, what are you doing? And you explain it and they're like, I don't get it. Just go do what you do.
Sounds good. Here's the payroll or the paycheck and the MX. Go do whatever you think we're supposed to be doing based on what everybody else tells us we need to be doing. We need to be on Facebook. We need to be on Google.
Yeah.
We need Pinterest. That's how they did, and hire people that could go do those things.
What was the feeling? And I know we'll move into the business side, but like, what was the feeling of working for like the corporation of like Target or something like that? Was there anything that you were surprised about? Because I think many of us don't ever hear this inside of those big old corporations.
Well, at first time I ever seen a black Amex, and I realized there's an Amex with a different color. It's not even black. There's a step above that, and Target has one of those, because I would insert into, at the time it was called Power Editor for Facebook. Which we launched with Facebook. I went to Palo Alto, told them what's good and bad during this process. Like, hey, this sucks. This is good. But there was like a budget, and they didn't have one. They were like, oh man, spend as much as you can. And I'm like, wow, they didn't even know what paid budgets were. I mean, I don't think they had an idea, but we would run the ads. We would get clicks. People would buy stuff, and they'd say, we're making more than we're spending. Keep doing it. And that was the shock to me, because I was like, man, there's people out here that got bags of money. And that was the marketing department for Target Corporation.
You just felt like we can actually, it's what a good testing ground, right?
Right. I had nobody to tell me no. And that was, to your point, man, that was some good learning. Man, I did a marketing deal with Justin Timberlake. Sat at a table with him, had no idea what the hell I was doing. Not like what I was doing as a business person, but like at the time that what I was doing was going to be important in my life. I never took a picture with this guy, conversation. I'm sitting at desk, like I work at Target, this is what I do. But never realized, like, maybe I should take a picture of myself with Justin Timberlake doing something like this. Same thing with Ellen DeGeneres. They did some launches with Target and stuff. I'm the guy leading the paid social. So I'm the one that has to, how do we do this campaign, and go in an office, talk about what can we say and do, and get pictures, and how do we do the creative and copy. So yeah, it was interesting, because it was, I didn't realize what exactly I was learning and doing at the time. Now I look back and I'm like, man, that was some pretty cool stuff.
Well, and kind of listening, there's so much like to unpack here. And one of the questions I would have is, were you one of those guys that baseball was the difficulty to move on? There's some guys that play the sport, and when they have to transition, dude, there's just this, like, I'm not that guy anymore. How did you handle that?
I did that for about a year. That's like the pouting in the, like identity crisis. I still have a lot of friends that are in there, by the way. And they made tons of money playing baseball, and they come out and they're like, money's not that big of a deal. Like, I don't need money, but like, what the hell do I do in life now? And I did that for about a year. And the cool thing was, bills started coming, and it didn't allow me to give a shit about my being in my pity about sports. And it's like, no, I got to pay for a vehicle. I got to pay for rent. I got to pay for food. I got to do all this shit by myself now. Like, mommy, daddy ain't here. I'm 4 years out of, professional baseball. Like, I got to, either I give up or I got to go. And I just, kind of went. They repoed my truck back then. That's dope. I always remember, like, I walked outside, the car was gone. I was like, that's what happens when you don't pay your bills. So
that definitely is a memory, right? You probably can remember that one like yesterday.
Oh yeah, I remember literally walking out barefooted, like, where the hell's the truck? Gone.
And then you take a step back, you're like, oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah, you don't pay your bills. That's how the world works. But yeah,
that's an interesting story, because like you kick in the story we talk about is like, basically, you know, you were in a position where you felt like, you know, you weren't in a fluent family. If that was the story, I really wasn't either. So in that, when you went to Target, you're then going, dude, there's all this money around here. Like, this is something you've probably never seen. You worked for a big company before, but then when you decided to kind of shift off and go, okay, I'm going to break off. What was that moment of saying, I could do something myself? Because those are encouraging situations. What was going on for you?
I paid my debt that I owed, college debt, just credit card debt and all that stuff, by having those jobs. I learned skills I can't replace by those jobs. So I'll never discredit those two things that I got out of taking a job. And I tell people that are entrepreneurs all the time, or trying to figure out, can I be an entrepreneur? Like, I cannot replace the fact that I had a steady income, paid my bills, figured out that I wanted to do more, like had that earning like inside me to want to go do more. But I couldn't have done it if I hadn't woke up and went to another job that paid me to do a task so I could do that. So, but really what got me was I was spending money on Target, literally target.com. And the goal was to drive traffic to target.com to get someone to buy furniture. And I was like, man, I just spent $20 and someone's just spent 10 grand on the internet. They just swiped their credit card on the internet for $10,000. And I'm like, what just happened? Dude, and that's the trigger. I was like, wait a second. Like, Target's not the only person that has furniture or anything for that matter. And I was like, I just need a product. And that's literally when I started going down the rabbit hole of like, where's mine? What am I going to do? That's what transitioned it. And at the time, I still am very much now, but obviously much older and I don't know about wiser, but mentally wiser, I guess. But
dude, I say that all the time. Yeah, I said, I know some other stuff I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know more shit that I do now than I did then, but whether or not I've changed, that's a different thing. But I was passionate about a lot of different things back in the day. More passionate about certain things now, obviously 4-month-old baby, married, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, but back then I was just passionate about like hunting and fishing, two things that you don't get paid to do. And I was like, man, it would be really sweet to figure out how to make money doing those two things. And like every other kid, how do I make money playing a sport? How do I make money fishing and hunting? And
so you didn't let it go.
No,
you just
I didn't
changed
quite.
it.
I was like, I'm going to figure this shit out. Like, I'm going to be able to make money with things that I'm passionate about. And so I started a hunting and fishing brand. Like, I say brand, but at the time it was like, I created some logos. I made some decals. I started running Facebook ads for myself and people were buying them. And I was like, sweet. And at the time, like, you get like a $5 CPA on a Facebook ad. So like, if I sold a $10 sticker, I was like, man, I made money. Like, I made $5. Now you're not going to sniff anything for 20, 30, $40, right? But back then I was like, man, I could be profitable. So that's what got me the ball rolling, as I literally created these logos. They were like deer heads and deer designs and stuff. And people were buying these decals and I was running Facebook ads to it and started building landing pages and, e-commerce stores. And it evolved into this brand, eventually an 8-figure brand. I was selling the Shields, Bass Pro, Cabela's, Gander Mountain. I had hats. I mean, I'm sitting here on this video. I got a box. This is from 2 years ago. I haven't used it, but these are just literally hats that we used to sell. Like, this is a fish, like there's all sorts of, we used to sell like tens of thousands of these things a month. And this is a box just sitting here that's been sitting here for like 4 months that but like, we sell a ton of hats, decals, stickers, shirts, everything in the hunting and fishing niche. It went from literally a $10 decal. I need a product to, evolved into, like I said, like an 8-figure branded business, which
did you take the avenue of stocking things, or did you take the avenue of finding partnerships to either drop ship? What was your avenue?
I started out with, I'm going to go buy decals and then I'm going to ship them when I sell them. And then this was about 2011, 12-ish. I said, man, it's shipping this stuff sucks, So I said, well, what am I going to do? And there are two options, right? Like, when you got you're going to ship it yourself or you're going to have somebody else ship it for you, right?
Yeah.
Well, I did both. And what that means is I literally bought a screen print and embroidery machine. I bought a decal printer, all this stuff. I got it all. And then I hired my brother to run the shop. And then I just focused on marketing. So I shipped it myself, but technically I wasn't personally shipping it anymore. So I
Yeah.
still continue shipping,
You expanded. Sure.
yeah, and just let him focus on the scale of the business and stuff. So started out with buying the products and shipping it, and then eventually we just started making everything in house.
And you started making everything in house. And then did that turn into more of a custom scenario, or did you find yourself kind of?
Yeah, we had a lot of B2B clients, local businesses. That was that extra money. But then I had all these other concepts, all these other websites and e-commerce ideas that we were testing out of there, different designs, different niches. That's what evolved to this Big Stitchy, which is a embroidery on demand app through Shopify, where now you can go on and instead of you having to find somebody to embroider a hat, come to us, you download the app, you design your design for your hat. The order comes through from your customer, comes to us, we stitch it, send it to your customer, gets a tracking, looks like it came from you. We do all of that whole thing now through the Big Stitchy. But
and for anybody that doesn't know, like that's the release of pressure for someone that wants to go out there and market is astronomical, because just go be the face, have a great relationship with someone that delivers, and then you maybe get to go do the thing you want to do, right? Because that whole operation is a different ball game. I mean, even you just explained it. So I had to hand it to my brother. Like you can't split tails,
Yeah, you make a good point. Give up the things that you're not good at. Let somebody else help you with those things.
Yeah, that's like super true. What are some things, and I always like to bring these up, is like, what are some things in baseball that you learned that you kind of parlay into business?
Man, I think they're all bad, but the reality was chewing tobacco, chasing women, spending money frivolously. No, I kid. The reality is leadership.
Let's continue.
Yeah, no, in the business side, the good things though is literally like leadership. I was a catcher. I was like the field general. I mean, that's a trait, a personality trait that I carried out.
Perfect.
I'm looking at the whole field. I'm seeing everything, calling shots, calling every pitch, the whole 9 yards. Got to know what everything's going on. If you're playing right field, all you do is wait for a ball to get hit to you, catch it, throw it in. That's you don't look at what the first baseman's doing. What third base is doing. You're looking at right field. Ball comes to me, I catch it. It's very simple. The other thing is I got to know what all 9 positions are doing on the field. So that like not only just being a general leader, but knowing what everything else is doing. That's another trait of just kind of like being all knowing, of like all the moving parts. So that's another trait that baseball taught. And then the other thing is just, teamwork, how to deal with different personalities, different people from different parts of the world. These are all things that, at the time, maybe I didn't appreciate, but for certain now, different backgrounds, different cultures, how people were raised. Some people were raised with a spoon in their mouth, a golden spoon in their mouth. Some people were raised with nothing, and they have vastly different ways you can approach them. You can approach somebody with nothing and tell them you need to bust your ass harder and do more. They'll say, okay, I'll work. You approach somebody with a golden spoon in their mouth, tell them to bust their ass, work harder. They're going to, nah, I'm good. I don't need to. Like, I'm good. I got a golden spoon in my mouth. I'm good. Like, no worries.
That's a really interesting conversation, because there's some people, what a tough conversation, right? Because if you're born into money, you can't do anything about it.
Yep.
That's not there. And I heard a conversation about someone that basically was like, you're born with a bunch of money. You're going to have to find that passion. You're going to have to dig in and find what that thing's going to be. And certain people have the ability to do it. And I think you're right. There's like some people that just don't have that.
Yeah, certainly. That's not a broad stroke to say everybody that has money or came from money is lazy or anything. That's not, that's not the reality.
For sure.
People that get money, they go make $1 million into billions, that happens all the time. But it's certainly when it comes to the aspect of what their next thing in life is going to be. Like when you're in a sport, it's like, this is the only thing for people, like people that don't have anything. This is my thing. For them, like, no big deal. My dad owns a business. I'll just become the CEO of that. It's like, cool. That's such a good feeling. It's awesome.
I grew up around the same thing, man.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I'll give some of my friends some credits here. They were all kind of treated pretty good. So I wasn't around, like a lot of my friends, their families had, very wealth business, but they kind of didn't let them do anything. There's sometimes, if you've noticed some of these ones too, where it's like the business will become so sized and they don't really let them do anything until like 30 years old.
Yeah, that's true. That does happen quite a bit too. They like protect them from having to worry about things.
And they also look at them as, oh, you know, you're the son, you know, you got to kind of cut your, you know, you got to cut your way through. But then also they see the mistakes, but you have the mistakes too. And you just figured out the liability is not all the way on you either. So that's probably a different play. When you moved into being an entrepreneur, what were some of the stresses that you found for yourselves? I mean, I know that you went off that side, but what in the pinnacle of growth, because that's where our scalability and things like that, where that pressure was, what did you find? I know that, you know, I owned e-commerce stores too. And, you know, where were yours?
Nobody is going to do anything for you at the level that you would do it for yourself. And like, as I want somebody to be responsive, to write good copy, like respond to customers in a timely fashion, pick up the phone when people call. Like if it's not theirs, they don't have that same level of like care. And so me understanding that, but then also working with that, knowing that, hey, that's just the reality of life. Like to expect someone to want to work, you know, around the clock, that's not reality. So molding my own mindset, that was a factor there. But then on the flip side, you know, the old saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Like I thought that was the reality, but the truth is, if you do it right one time and then you document it and create an SOP, you can hand it to somebody else and they have clear guidelines of how to go do it successful ongoing. And that's the thing I had to learn as I started. Now it's not a thing. It's, you know, create operators, put them in positions, be successful, clearly define their goals, clearly define what their daily tasks are. It's the easy thing. Then I didn't understand any of that.
And I think also early, you're not hiring at the quality that you probably could too, right? Because you're kind of like, you know, hey, Johnny, can you do this? And you're like, I got some money for you. And you're like, okay. But there's not as much when you look at, you know, when you hire actual talent, the talent comes with a lot more too. You know, you're investing sometimes even less investment if it's the right employee.
Yeah, the experience you can't replace experience, right?
Yeah, you know, I found that out. And I think like even what you were saying, it's like if you got to kind of know your business. I think I see you could probably tap into this one pretty good, but you know, there's a lot of like you had said, like, oh, I did that course. And then I went and do SEO, but like you still had to like cut through the mistakes. It's not like you just did a course and then it was all there. You like committed. And I think that we see a lot of people that are just buying these almost like business in the box. And then they're assuming that the machine is just going to run when in fact you still have to like man the ship. You know, you still got to man it. Like how have you seen that kind of play out?
I'll give you an example. And this is something that, I mean, it's probably the most blatantly obvious example of this. People buy or they pay you for a service, right? And they ask you to help them with that service, marketing agency service style. And they want you to run the paid ads, design the creative, manage the reporting, tell them what's working, tell them what's not working, and then give them ideas on how to do better. And then at no point is there ever like a expectation on their end that they have to actually be doing all of that too. You know, it's like, I had a client, guy raised like $100 million, said, Cody, I want you to build hundreds of websites for me, e-commerce businesses, and pay you millions of dollars, yada, yada. All right. I'm like, what do you have to help? I have 140 employees. Okay, cool. In-house? Yeah. Oh, okay. I fly up there and I see them. I walk in, I'm like, man, this is a real deal. So we start. Come to find out, these guys don't know how to get into Facebook Business Manager. They don't know what Google Analytics is. And I'm already knee deep. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, the reality is what we thought and what the reality of the situation is are vastly different. But they essentially wanted me to build the entire business for them, these things for them, do everything for them. And that was just the expectation wasn't met, never going to be met. But yeah, clear disconnect. So you know, going into that is a heartache. But anyways, back to the question is like, people ask you for things and they don't even know what they want. Like they're not even sure what they want you to do for them. You know, they don't even have a clue so understanding of how to work through that minutia to figure out what exactly you're asking me to do for you is probably the biggest piece of that whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's definitely a disconnect through that process as being an entrepreneur and hiring and things like that. And especially hiring online now, right? Like it's a different It's like different, years ago, you'd bring someone in, you'd sit down with the government, but there's so many positions now that you don't even need to see the person.
Yeah, there's
our man.
Remote job. Yeah. Zoom call like once a month with some guy. They show up, they got a polo and they look good on the call, but then the rest of the month they're sitting around their underwear, like on a laptop on the back porch, like traveling. You don't know where they're at, what they're doing, what time they're online. Yeah, that's the world we live in. So much truth for that too.
What are your thoughts on that, man? Online, right? That's kind of current events. What do you think? What do you think about our workforce? You look at right now, I look at all these commercial buildings and I'm like, dude, these people ain't going back.
A whole bunch of empty ones, ain't there? It is funny because I feel like for the first time in history, the workforce is actually can call the shots now. The actual employee can call the shots. Typically, the employer has been like, I'm going to give you this much money. Now the employee can say, I don't give a shit. I can work from home and I can find any company in the world that will hire me. If you don't want to pay me that, I'll go somewhere else. That's the first time in history because the ability to work remote. Now, if you live in a certain geo and you got to find out, there's only so many jobs around you can go work for, right? You have to take what you get when you're there and you live there. You got to go in the office. Now you don't have to go in the office. So that's the biggest shift is like the negotiation is in the employee's hands now. Like people can call their own shots for how much money they're going to get paid, what times they work, who they work for, because there are a bunch of businesses that need a lot of people to work in certain skills that are certainly valuable. So,
yeah, I think you're right about that, and I think that like you think that do you think that the effects of morale are getting affected over the long run? Do you think that this is like and I go through this myself. I'm always kind of like, man, is this how it's going to be forever now? You just separate from everyone? I mean, is that the thing now? You just stay at home all day? Because I know that there's days that I'm like, dude, I kind of want to be around a lot more people. I have to actually set that up in my life now, or it just doesn't happen in certain scenarios.
The fair thing. We used to just like rely on the fact that we went to an office or we're around people every day. And that was how we got that human interaction. Now you have to be intentional about, I have to like go out and meet people and like make an effort to introduce myself, shake hands, start conversations. Otherwise, I'm not going to get that elsewhere. The workplace was literally the place where people did that. So do I think it's going to continue or the morale is going to? Yeah. I mean, the companies that are going to excel are going to be the ones that make their employees feel like they're not disconnected or they are more intertwined with, meeting people, having their in-person events quarterly, whatever it may be. Those are the ones that I think are going to have that company morale and, ultimately be successful.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think it's going to be an interesting transition, especially with all this like Web 3.0 and like, it's not going to stop. And we've obviously had this turnaround, but I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, closer everyone gets to the digital world. And I say that meaning the more every single job and skill set in the world requires you to get online, the further away we get from that other world of being in person, shaking hands. Like the fact that in order for you to get somebody to come over and cut your grass, this is the most basic. Used to be like walk outside, the guy was cutting the grass down the road. You walk down there, can you cut my grass?
Can you cut mine?
Yeah, cut mine, bro. Yeah, here's my card. Sounds good. Nowadays, it's like you search. People search. They'll look up 40 companies that exist. And if you're not on there, you don't exist. Like you're not getting a call, an email, a text message, nothing. If you're not on the internet as a business, regardless of what it is, like as simple as just cutting grass, you're not going to get business. And like now you have to go out there and not only do you have to cut grass well, but now you have to like figure out how do I put myself online to make sure I can be in front of the right people. And that's a opportunity for market agencies and whatnot, opportunity for most people. But now every service is like that. I mean, every service, like you drive down the road, see a dentist. That was the only dentist you'd go to, right? Now it's like, I need a dentist. Just go on your phone and you search and there's 42 of them right around you. And you're like, all right, I can take my pick,
It's so true.
Downtown, there's only one dentist. Nope, there's 10 now, and they're all around town, and they tell me where they're at. I mean, unless someone told you where they were, you didn't know. So the world is getting closer to digital every day, no matter what the industry is.
Yeah, I think the conversation is for businesses also is just to find alternative ways to connect with each other. Because I think it's just like, you all, especially business, like so important that you're all on the same page. I mean, if you're not running the same direction, it's so difficult.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. Like I hear your opinion on this, but like you hear people that say, no, I'm good. My business is in a good spot. I don't need that. And you like want to tell them like you do, or else people are going to run by you, or you're going the wrong direction. Like just trying to like give the foresight to tell them that. And it's, I mean, sometimes it's like you can lead a horse to water, or you can't make him drink type of thing. Right.
Yeah. And we're, and this goes into probably like a sales and positioning and stuff like that, but it's like, it's interesting that you say that, because so many entrepreneurs, because we work with entrepreneurs and stuff like that, it's like there's always that I'm fine, I'm doing great, and you're like 99% of us are doing great. I don't think
everyone's great, everyone's awesome, that everyone has everything figured out. No, every time someone says you're doing good, man, I don't know, what do you got? Teach me, show me, tell me, what am I missing? That's my response. What am I missing? Tell me what you think you got. If you got a sales thing, sell me it. That's how I am. I'm the guy that sells me what you got to sell. I tell everybody that. I want to know, is it something better? Do I need to learn? That's what I think. To your point, I think that's like the detriment of entrepreneurs. Like, nah, man, I'm good. Like I'm making money and I feel good and I'm grinding and everything. And it's like, okay, 6 months went past and like you missed out on all the things that happened in the last 6 months because you've been focusing on, just your thing, and you thought you were great, but like you didn't have your open mind to just keep your head up a little bit and see, all right, what everybody else doing out here?
I just had this, and I doubt that he'll ever see this episode, but there was somebody I was talking to, and he was a little bit older, and I could just feel kind of his pain, and one of the things that he said was, I'm just stuck and I feel frustrated. And he's like, all these young kids keep messaging me, and if I don't respond, they reply back over and over. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, man, you forgot what it was like to be a dog. You forgot what it was like to be in the fight. You forgot what that was. And, there's so many people, and realize that the internet's still a little bit of a war. You've got to go play the game,
Yep.
What do you think's happening to, I'm getting older, I'm in my 40s and things like that. How do you think that the generations, as people are getting older, are transitioning into all this digital stuff? Do you think it's affecting them even worse? Do you think that, business wise, I think, this ain't going to change. And there's a lot of, I've been online for almost 20 years now. And it's like, I still feel like I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is insane.
I thought I was smart 10 years ago. And then now I'm like, shit, I got to catch up. Like, 10 years ago, I was like, I open a laptop, I'm dangerous. Now I'm like, crap, what is Web 3.0? What is that? Crypto? Is that where I got to build a Google over there? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to research it. I feel like, I'm too old. To that point, it's wild. There's always new things, new trends, new social medias, new, ways to do certain things. And that's the truth. I don't think that's ever going to stop, right? Like, shit, you're 20 years in your life. Tell me all the things you've seen unfold in 20 years in this online world. Like, couldn't even begin. You probably forgot more than you remember, right? Like, there's so many things.
Dude, I could tell. Man, there was so many things we used to do. You can't even do them anymore.
Yeah, back in the day, they were perfectly cool and legal. Now they're considered black hat, or like it's not an option, or like it doesn't even exist. It's like having the bag phone in your car. Like you needed to have a bag phone to have a phone in your car. Now you literally have a cell phone on your wrist. Like it's just, they don't exist. Like it's not a thing. No one has a bag phone anymore. That's what I feel like the internet has done in the last 20 years. Is like, shit. We went from the bag phone to the iWatch, and people who weren't paying attention didn't realize how we got there.
Good point. Yeah. You're like, I got this flip phone. Life's moving on. Like, what
shit, that was sweet in 2002. Awesome.
I was kind of interested to kind of touch base on, embroidering and like people that get that kind of thing done. I think that people love to be able to brand their own stuff. But I think that in the conversation we had like a minute ago, I think it's sometimes people think that it's out of reach because of those processes. It'd be kind of interesting just to kind of talk about the process a little bit, because I think that it would maybe it would bridge the gap a little bit of people that would be like, man, I can actually do that pretty simple. I negotiated a deal. We have moved shirts and all that kind of stuff. And we have the whole process, ships out, gets on. But the benefit of that really changed. In your view, how do you see it? Not as a sales pitch, but just as
no, there's an entire world out there that they started out called print on demand, right? Like this entire world evolved over the last like 10 years. Like 10 years ago, the Teesprings in the world popped up, and it was like, what? Somebody else is going to make a shirt and send it to the customer I sell to? That wasn't really a thing. And now you can literally go to Shopify, WordPress, WooCommerce, whatever, click an app, download a plugin, and you can literally have access to tens of thousands of products. All you have to do is customize, and somebody else is going to print them. They're going to ship them. They're going to send the tracking, all that work. All you got to do is focus on is my design good enough, and can I market this to the right people? Before you'd have to do everything. I got to find the shirt color, the sizes, are they the right? How's it fit and feel? Is it a good shirt? These people vet all that stuff for you. They know which products are selling. They know which hats are right. They know how to do it. They know how to manufacture, box them, ship them, all that stuff you don't have to worry about. People just, I know you, Jason, like you probably put something in a box and shipped it to someone that you sold and was like, yeah, this is awesome. And you did that again and again and again. And you're like, shit, this is a lot of work. And like all that work that we've done in that realm, you don't have to do no more. Like you don't have to think about it. And it's almost, it's almost wild to think that exists now, because like these people don't skin their teeth on having to ship their own stuff. Like they don't have to go through the hurdle of like, I got to figure out how to ship this product and like give it to the world. Now it's not even an option. You can just literally,
it's a button.
You just literally click a button and somebody else is going to do all that work for you. It's as simple as like you just said, you click a button and there is not only tens of thousands of dollars of stuff that you don't have to pay to learn and do, but there's tens and 20 and 30 years of experience of other people that are doing things that you don't have to learn, to that. It's wild.
And what is it? This is, I think, people to kind of look at that point, but what have you ever calculated what the cost separation of doing it in-house and then saying, hey, I'm going to ship it out? Is it like, do you think it's like a 30% increase? Like you have to pay 30% for it? What do you think that is?
It's crazy. You got to think, if you hire a W-2, not only, you got salaries that you're paying, you got insurance, you get taxes, you got all the software it takes to manage those people. You got the actual space to have those individuals come in and do something, warehousing costs, equipment costs. I mean, it's got to be, I would like you're thinking 20, 30%, like I think it's in the thousands of percentages. To print a t-shirt, if you do the math, to print a $20 t-shirt that you sell, you'd have to go buy a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 piece of machinery.
Then you have to buy it, man.
Exactly. Spin the thing, get the head. I did their
sitting in your garage, and you just wonder, is this a 3-screen?
Do we need which color is this? Is the heater on the right temperature? Like all that stuff, man. Been there, do that. No one has to know how to do that now, which is wild.
It brings me back some memories.
Right? Wow. Think about all that though, like all those experiences and stuff that you have to know to do that.
They don't even exist.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about that anymore. Yeah, it's not even a thing. Now it's just an automatic printer. You can literally put it in a printer and it'll print like a regular printer and ship a shirt out. It's wild.
Yeah, I remember nights in Ecom and it's so much we were selling. And I remember holidays, I'd have to be there till like 3 a.m. with my shipping department. Yeah. And I'm just in there like ripping everything out, trying to get it going. And you're just like, this doesn't stop. And you're like, and you know what the thing, and by the scale that you shared with me is like, when you scaled at that point, you literally are running around with your chicken with your head cut off. Oh yeah. You're like trying to figure out the volume, the problems at the same time. Were you in a new building or were you in a smaller building when it actually kind of gave you that first kick?
First kick, small building. Then it was like, we're going to need it. It's like, I felt like I was on Jaws. We're going to need a bigger boat. It's like, I need bigger equipment, more people, more space. And then, that's always fun, trying to take everything and transition it while continuing to run your business, moving places. You've been there before.
How long have you, how long did it take you? Cause I remember this one. How long did it take you to like believe it? Cause I remember it was like month after month. I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know if
yeah, like you would hoard the money. Like, I don't know if I should save this in case this never happens again, or it's not going to keep happening. Should I spend this money on new stuff, or should I just let it sit in the account to see if, somebody's going to ask for this back? I had the same thought, like imposter syndrome style. Like, is this reality? For sure. Man, it took, to be honest, man, I steal everything I do. I mean, I've built a business and sold them, make the money, but still I'm like, man, is it this simple? I still ask that, but like, it's not this simple, because like the stuff we talk about, like this experience that we have, the things we've gone through, things that, years of experience of how to do things that we just do second nature now. But yeah, I still constantly think like, well, let's make sure I manage this money properly and do this right by, whatever, my employees, my partners, my contractors, my vendors. Still you used to be like, all right, I'm gonna save this percentage of the money coming in to make sure that just in case, that's like my case money, right? Just in shit pops off, I good. I still got the in case shit pops off money, I'm good. Like just to make sure that this stuff's not going to fail or blow up or be able to handle emergencies when they come up.
Yeah, that money sits next to my gun.
Exactly. That's your in case money in case you got to get out of town.
Exactly. That's that. Hey, these are the perfect shoes to get out of here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shove it in your Jordans and your 9.
Dude, you're out. Jordans in a 9.
Gone.
Oh man, that is so cool, man. Yeah, man, you came from the time period as you kicked off. There was just so many things going on, man. And we were talking earlier one time, it was just like the whole GoDaddy thing, buying domains, and you'd get this off-brand, company that would have a domain company and they'd sell domains, but you thought they were bullshit. So you're like, oh, I got to stay with GoDaddy. And then yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff that you go through.
I still think it's funny, the whole, like, there was an era where people would buy these things, hoard them and sit on them and just wait for someone that wanted to buy them. And that's how they were going to make money. That was like their strategy. Let me buy thousands of dollars worth of domain names and just wait for somebody to want to buy it. Like, what the hell strategy is that? Nowadays, it's like, like the Facebook started the Facebook.
That's right. They bought Facebook from someone, right?
Yeah, they had to go buy Facebook. And I'm like, well, that one guy is the one guy I know that strategy worked out for. Like he said on Facebook forever, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, some of those guys became like domain brokers, and then they would have thousands and they would try to sell them. And I think GoDaddy still does that. They try to broker for people and you can sell your domain and everything.
Yeah, I had a thing pop up earlier today. I was transferring a domain that we sold a store to somebody, and it's like, your domain is worth $2,500. And I'm like, how? Where? Like, to who? Like what? This is domain.
Well, no, you like sell.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a button I click where I get the money? No, you have to do all sorts of craziness, broker it. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Dude, your story's awesome, man. This has been an incredible episode. You could tell that you have some depth in this. There's always people I get on and I'm like, hey man, you've gone through some shit. And so those are always great stories, man. I appreciate you, man. How do people get a hold of you, man? I know that people can do embroidery with you. They could do a lot of things, man. How can they get a hold of you?
So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but we have a local business marketing agency, a little small team over there. It's called localguysmarketing.com. It's local business, service-based businesses. To our point we talked about earlier, like these guys need to catch up or they're gonna lose out. So localguysmarketing.com is number one. You can just go to codyneer.com if you're trying to just connect with me personally. Obviously you'll see the links on there for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those channels that you might need to connect there. But yeah, you'll see our apps on the marketplace on Shopify, Big Stitchies on there, funnel orders. If you're a ClickFunnels person, funnel orders connects your funnel to Shopify. So you can run sales from your Shopify store through a ClickFunnels and then have that talk back and forth smoothly, subscriptions and all that stuff. So yeah, that's how you connect. And those are the things that if you see out there, that's me.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. This was an awesome episode with you, Cody Neer. Thanks a lot for coming on the MOVD Entrepreneur Evolved podcast. For any of you guys that also look at other episodes, look back for Chris Weiser. We just released that one, another amazing episode. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
have a great rest of your day.
If you like this episode, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just like Nike is to athletes, MOVD is to entrepreneurs.